But I think what's really being lost in the daily COVID-19 narrative and being drowned out by Trump and his obsession with himself and re-election at all costs, as the death toll continues to climb. Over 40,000 people have died now, and a huge chunk of those deaths have occurred just since the 1st of April. But what's missing, I think, from his narcissism parade and all of these anti-government shutdown protesters, they're, they've hijacked the things that really matter about what's happening, and they've drowned out the voices that need to be heard, the voices of our healthcare workers are super critical, and I hope to see more of them share really open and honest and raw videos, like a nurse from Central Park Hospital in New York, Danielle. I watched a video from her earlier after she came off shift, and she's just gutted, and she's volunteering to help in New York and staying in a hotel and taking care of 6 or 7 times as many patients as is normal, with many of them not making it, and these patients are unable to be with their families, and these nurses and doctors and lab techs and sanitation workers, X-ray techs, on and on and on down the list. They are all mounting a superhuman effort on our behalf, and so much love and respect to all of you who are out there. They're doing that job for all of us. I know it's got to be hard on them. It's got to be hard on their families, and I think that these anti-shutdown protests are an absolute disgrace, and spit in the face of the love and dedication, sometimes at the risk of their own lives. And healthcare workers have died from this virus since this fight began, and literally gave everything, and to be paid back in such a disgraceful way for the sacrifices that they've made is just wrong. And I think that the other voice that is missing from the narrative, the other perspective that I think a lot of people are overlooking, are the voices of those 133 to 157 million Americans that I mentioned that are like me, who are chronically ill. It's been over a month now since I've been able to hang out with my sons, to hug my sons, to kiss my sons. Never in their entire life have I gone this much time and not be able to be with them and to be there for them. My mom is elderly, as I mentioned, and my little brother is very frail. He gets this, the precious bits of his life that are left will be gone, and I can't get on a plane and be there if one of them gets sick because I'm immunocompromised. And so if something happens to them, I have to stay here and do nothing. And here is where people like me will be until they come out with a vaccine, which could be 12 to 14 months or 14 to 18 months. And that means when things start to get back to normal for most of you, we'll all still be here, unable to go anywhere and unable to be with the ones that we love, unable to see our friends, see our family. The hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, and I don't know how I'm going to get through it. And it's okay to admit that. But if you're one of those people thinking about going out there and causing a whole bunch of chaos and raising the tension and intimidating and frightening people, maybe just take a moment to think about how lucky you really are, because you have your health and because you will get to go back to your life sooner rather than later if you don't all get sick because you're out there in a big crowd with no mask passing this thing around. But barring that, life will get back to some semblance of normal for you while we are living in a fishbowl for the foreseeable future, watching life just go on without us. And that's really hard because having the emotional support of your family and your friends is super critical to maintaining some semblance of sanity as you're going through a severe chronic illness. So to have that safety net jerked away during such a scary time is really indescribable. It's a knife in my heart all the time. And the couple of times that I've seen the boys outside because they can't come in the house, it's been from 6 feet away with both of us wearing a mask, and there's just no words. And this is how it's going to be for the foreseeable future. It's not even safe for me to go to the grocery store. So, I hope that more chronically ill folks will take some time and share your own thoughts and experiences about what your day-to-day process is like now and how it affects you. Because I think people need to hear that. I think people need to understand that We're not asking you to, stop the world for us, but we matter, and our lives matter, and what we're going through is important too. And to minimize our experience with um, remarks like, all the people that are dying of this thing were on their last legs anyway. And I'm talking to you, Bill O'Reilly, and everybody like you, because I've seen all the tweets and all the posts, you know. I mean, they were old anyway, or they were sick anyway, and maybe it would just be better off. Maybe we'd all be better off as a society if all the sick people and old people died off. I mean, I've seen all this crap for 2 months now, and I realize that that's not representative um, of most people, and I'm grateful for that. But it's hard not to let things like that hurt. Um, it's selfish and it's dismissive, and you just never know uh, when you could end up um, just like me. I was in my 30s before I came down with my autoimmune diseases, and was finishing my bachelor's in working on my bachelor's in social work and counseling, and um, had this whole life planned out for myself. So, you make your jokes about um, getting rid of the sick people, and you just never know. You really just never know. And now Trump banned immigration tonight. So, like, banned it totally. Um, Blamed it on his desire to protect America from the invisible enemy. Um, but we've had nurses wearing hefty bags because they've got no protective equipment, and doctors making their own masks because they don't have any protective equipment. And of course, it's all about Trump's reelection. So he had his border wall announcement during the coronavirus briefing yesterday, and he announced on Twitter, of all places, that he was shutting off immigration for the entire country. So I want to give a shout out to um, all of the migrant farmers um, that are still working hard to make sure that we can put um, produce on the table, uh, and a lot of these workers are working in some really abysmal conditions, and they're getting sick too. Um, and we appreciate you. I appreciate you. Um, there's a lot of healthcare workers that are here on immigration visas. Um, thank you all for your contribution and the gift of your time for our country. Um, there's so many other frontline workers that are also in our immigration communities, and you're all out there um, doing jobs that are just as important um, as some of the jobs that our doctors and nurses are doing, because you're out there risking your lives so that critical infrastructure areas can continue to function right now. And that's huge. So, and I just wanted to add that if you are feeling as somebody, whether you're chronically ill like me or not, if you're somebody that's feeling overwhelmed during this crisis and you need to talk to somebody, there are a lot of good free resources out there right now, and I want to just, and I will include these numbers in the bottom of my video description, so you guys will have them. Bear with me. I put on my glasses because I'm old as hell and can't see. So there is a crisis text line up. If you text SHARE to 741-741, and you can communicate with a counselor by text that way. There's also Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. And then SAMSHA has got their Disaster Distress Hotline up, and they normally deal with things like hurricanes and tornadoes and the mental health after effects of natural disasters like that. But they've expanded their disaster response hotline for mental health support to include the coronavirus outbreak, which is awesome. And so they are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And their number is 1-800-985-5990. And they're dedicated to providing immediate crisis counseling for people experiencing emotional distress related to any natural or human-caused disaster. They're toll-free, they're multilingual, so if English isn't your first language, they've got somebody there that can talk to you. It's completely confidential. It's available to all residents of the United States and its territories. And you can also text them at TALKWithUS, all one word, TALKWithUS, at 66746. So again, that last 800 number is 1-800-985-5990, or all one word, talk with us to 66746. And they will help connect you with a trained counselor. Not gonna lie, I will probably be taking advantage of one of these opportunities to do some kind of maybe even a telemedicine type counseling visit, because I know that this is going to be a difficult process. We're just at the beginning of this, as far as those of us that are on home confinement now because of our high risk status. And some of the best advice that I was ever given when I became chronically ill 13 plus years ago with the autoimmune diseases was to remember that living with any chronic illness is a marathon, not a sprint. And that really resonated for me. Um, and it's been helpful to kind of keep me going and keep my perspectives in check, and understand that, even if I can only make baby steps every day of progress, or some days no progress at all, I'm still going forward, and I'm still trying, and I'm still showing up, and all of those things count. And so um, I'm trying to apply a lot of the coping skills that I've learned, um, trying to get by, and get through and survive, um, being so sick for so many years, to this current experience, um, because I know it's going to take every trick in my toolbox, and I'm going to need some new ones, and reaching out and saying I need to talk to somebody. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. I promise. Promise. I promise. I promise. Whether you're a man or a woman, however you identify, uh, having the courage to say, I need a little extra help right now, um, it just makes you a rock star. It doesn't make you weak. So please, if you're feeling like you need a helping hand, don't be afraid to reach out for it. So uh, yeah. So much love to you all, wherever you are. Um, and if you have somebody in your life or in your family that's chronically ill or older, and you know that they're um, on lockdown at home, um, please do what you can to reach out to them. Video chat, uh, text them, call them, um, start one of those silly little Netflix watch parties together, so you can, you know, pile up on the couch in separate houses and watch the same movie. Uh, it's the isolation that's really already the worst part of any chronic illness, and the isolation now is forced, and we're all going to need the ones that we love the most more than ever to be able to get through this experience. So please, if you have somebody in your life like that, just take a lot of regular moments, consistent moments, to let them know that they're not alone and that you're still there. So take care, stay safe, look out for each other. Um, I'll talk to you all again soon. Bye.